Morning all, and welcome to this training 20. It's Functional Friday and we are focusing on the lunge today. So we're going to be taking you through the basics of the lunge and all the regressions and progressions around it, as well as all the mistakes that tend to be made with it, ways to avoid those and perform the exercise correctly. So we're going to jump straight into it. Like I say, you can join me with any of these exercises and do it along with me, but there's no pressure to do that. Looking to more educate in terms of learning how to do this movement, but practicing all these things is really going to help you lunge, especially if you struggle or have bad knees and need to improve there but don't want to hurt your knees any further. So I'm going to use a stick first of all to show you kind of the way to start your lunge. You don't need anything, but these can really help. I've got a line on the floor here. You can draw a line on the floor, but having something to guide you where you're going to stand can be really useful to start you off. So I'm going to place this straight down the middle here. Now when you're starting the lunge, having this either side of the feet is really going to help you think about where your feet need to go. So I'm going to set one foot on one side, just off it, and nice and flush against it, and then step the other foot backwards on the other side of it. So in terms of balance and where you want to be making sure you're directly in the middle of your body and either side of it. If you're more comfortable a bit further away either side, that's okay. Main thing is you're trying to match the distances. So this distance here from the stick to my foot should be the same on the back. So then you know you're not kind of skewed off, which puts a lot of people off and throws their balance, or a lot of people will, without knowing it, be totally off balance by being both feet on the same side. I mean, off balance like so. So I like to be nice and close. Use something like a stick. Make sure you're in this position here. Now you should know you're in this position if you don't have a stick or anything by focusing on the knees anyway, because this knee should be kind of going over this foot and this should be kind of over here. If you find that when you're in that lunge it's out wide, or alternatively it's right hooked behind this other leg, then we're obviously either too far away or too close in, okay? So we're in that position here, where we're either side of the stick in that lunge position. Now I say lunge, but we're starting off with a split squat. So we're going to build it up in exercises. Got hair in my mouth. So the split squat is the best one to start with for a number of reasons. The main one being, other than it being the easiest, is that it's the least pressure on the knees. So if you do have bad knees, you want to be starting here anyway. As I'm going to talk to you about it, it puts the least pressure on the knees going forwards. So in terms of injuries and getting the correct exercise right and improving your knee strength and muscles, is where we want to start. So this is where you do want to start. Feet either side, making sure you're in that nice split stance here. Like so, okay? So getting that feet position first is important. The rest of the body kind of follows. All we're doing here is standing up straight. I want you to tuck the hips forward and squeeze on that back glute. So tuck the hips, I'll show you from the side. Hips tucked up, core strong. I'm looking forwards, keeping my balance nice and strong, and then that's it. I'm going straight down and back up like so. In terms of the knee to the floor, we don't want it to rest on the floor. So if it brushes the floor, like so, like a little tap is fine. I didn't even tap it that time. A tiny little tap. You don't need to at all. Really you want it just to hover just off, so we're in control the whole time. But tapping the floor is fine if you are in control. So if I go into here, if I can control this position and back up, then great. That's where we kind of want to be. What we don't want to do is hit the floor every time, because this part of the exercise is the hardest portion. If we're like hitting down, even if it's just a little bounce, that's reducing the amount of control and the amount of strength we're building in that low position. So if you are going to touch the floor, or occasionally by accident, it's fine as long as you're controlling the whole motion and you just happen to graze it because you've underestimated where the floor is. Otherwise, we're looking to get as close to the floor as possible without touching it. So that's one of the main questions I get, whether your knee should touch the floor. Now we're going to go through some of the main mistakes that we have with the split squat. The first and main one is putting too much weight forward. Now I'm going to go into this as well into a lunge, because that's why the split squat is the healthiest one, because it prevents this happening the most in terms of your weight distribution. But what we don't want to see is when we're in this split squat, imagine you've got the nice stance away from the stick. We don't want to see this knee driving forward. So an example would be big lean forward like so, and that knee, all my weight is going into that knee and forwards. It even happens so much so that people's front heel comes off the floor like so. This puts a ton of your weight distribution into your knee. It can cause you issues with your knees over time, so it's something we really want to avoid. So to do that, we don't want to be thinking of we're going forward and backwards into this split squat, which is easy when you're doing a split squat. When you're doing a lunge and stepping, that almost encourages you to move forward and backwards. But with a split squat to start, we don't want to think of a forwards and backwards movement. That's not what we want. We want to go straight down. I first recommend you focus on your hips. So once you're in this split stance position, hands on hips, and think about what your hips are doing. They shouldn't be going forwards and backwards. They are literally dropping straight down to the floor. Down and then back up like that, okay? Down and back up. The same can be said with the back knee. We don't want that back knee to be rocking forward and back. The back knee, same as the hips, is going straight down to the floor and coming straight back up. Straight down, straight back up. So when you're performing that split squat, always think back knee and hips down and up. A great way to test this is focus on the front knee. So I'm going to use a stick first of all, but you can also easily use a wall, which I'll show you too. If I was to put my front toes against this stick, back into that split stance. Now if I'm putting all my weight forward, you're going to see me go past the stick with my knee. My heels come up. Even if my heel doesn't come up, but I'm leaning forward a lot, the knee's going past the stick. Whereas if I just drop the hips straight down, then it may graze, that's fine. It may graze, or it may not touch the stick at all. It doesn't matter too much if there's a slight movement forward. The main thing is our majority of our weight distribution is dropping straight down into that position there, okay? So that's 3 ways to test it, and like I said, I'll show you quickly. Same with the wall. Get your toes to a wall. Starting here, and then down we go. If you're finding and smashing your knee into a wall when you try this, then we need to address that and get rid of that. So what you should be looking to do is not touch the wall as you're doing this split squat like so. So that's mistake number 1, having that shift forward and back. Mistake number 2 leads massively into mistake number 1, which is all about the back foot. So if I show you here, when we're in this split stance, I didn't mention this shit on purpose, we want to be on the back toes. So you can see my heel is up, I'm on the toes already, and then from there I just go up and down like so. Now what we see a lot of people do is relax the heel down, whether it's because it's uncomfortable on their toes or they just generally find it a more relaxing position between reps, is down to the individual. But what we see a lot of is this, where we've got that heel right down and we're in this position here. This is fine. This is not the worst thing in the world if you shift your weight up and then sink down like so. There's technically nothing wrong with that. It puts me off balance, to be fair, but there'd be nothing wrong with that. But by putting this heel down, it automatically puts in your head that you're going to be coming forward and backwards again. So if I show you, if I'm coming forwards, my momentum will probably keep leaning forwards and force me into that kind of rocking lunge, which we see a lot of, which again leads to putting all the weight in that knee. So if you are going to put this heel down, which I don't really recommend, you want to be coming up onto the toes first and then down. Preferably, you're just going to be in this split squat on the toes and focusing on that lunge up and down there, okay? So avoid dropping the heel down if you can, but making sure you're propping yourself up first and then dropping down, okay? So that is another main issue with the split squat. Now when you're building into the split squat, you may find that difficult just to try that split squat generally. So using a wall to balance onto, well, you can use absolutely anything. I'm going to show you a stick, for example. Stick out to the side, into that split squat. Doesn't matter which hand you hold it on. Probably better this side. But just finding that balance here like so. To build up into it. TRXs are great if you have one available to you. Hold it to the chest. Get yourself in that split stance. And then up and down you go there. Using a wall, using anything to balance on. If you're struggling with the balance side of things first, build yourself up by finding something to help with your balance and then go from there, okay? Once you've nailed that and you feel like you can do it on your own, then mistake number 3 we really want to focus on too is the knees. Now I spoke to you about this on our squat functional session. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about when I say the tripod, then I recommend you go look at that because I don't want to waste too much time on that. But it's vital that you know about the tripod foot, so go check that out. But what we're looking for here is our 3 points on the foot, which form the tripod, under the big toe, under the little toe, and the heel. Now, if you're in the split stance like so, and you're going down, if you find this knees coming in, then that's a problem. It tends to be due to an inactive glute. But you'll know about it not only by seeing the knee do it, but also obviously that we're losing that tripod, that little toe's coming off. We want to keep a strong knee out on both sides. It can happen here as well, but focus on that front leg because this is the leg that's doing all the work here. Like so, okay? So we don't want to lose the big toe, we don't want to lose the little toe and let it cave in. It's easy to do both, too wide, and then dropping that knee in is very common. The knee should follow the toe by maintaining that tripod position with the foot. It should allow the knee to naturally follow the movements of the toe with no issues. Focus on your knees, making sure they're not caving inwards when you're performing the lunge. If you've ticked off all those boxes, as well as keeping an upright position, core strong, looking forward, hands on hips, can help. That's the split squat sorted. You should be quite comfortable with that. If you're not, build yourself up. If you're having big issues with that knee caving in, like I said, it's probably due to an inactive glute and hip issues, so drop me a message please and I can help you with it personally. But assuming you've nailed the split squat, the next one we're going to move to is the reverse lunge. Now, some people find this one harder due to the balance of it. The reason we're doing this one next is because, like I spoke about before, the knees, if we're looking to protect the knees and make sure we're not going to hurt them, in terms of weight distribution and bothering the knees, split squat is the nicest on the knees, then reverse lunge is just a bit higher than that, but still really good for the knees without risking any injury. Not that there's much risk. But all you're going to do with a lunge, a reverse lunge, is stand with both feet together and you simply take a step back into that split stance, you go down and back up. It's literally, all these movements are going to be pretty much the same. But if you're looking to build up into a lunge, this is where you go next. Like I said, the reason being, all in the head again, weight distribution is going backwards. It's unlikely we're going to step back and then rock our body forwards into a bad position with the knee. So although the balance can be tougher, by practicing a stepping lunge, reverse lunge first, is really good for the knees and really good for practice. The reason people get this one wrong and struggle with it most is the balance side, like I've mentioned. It's because they rush it. Don't rush it, take your time. So break it up. If you're stepping right back and already trying to hit a lunge, it's easy to lose control and balance. So take a step back, and then you're in a split squat. That's it, just stop there for like a second. If you're off balance when you've stepped back, it may be, like we've talked about before, that our foot's off kilter either way. So you can use a stick again, placing the stick down. This is the most common issue with the balance thing. People step and don't realise that they're stepping off. So use a stick, step back, and then it's just a split squat. So there's no actual big difference. It just takes practice and a bit of proprioception, just realising what position your body's in, where you're stepping to, in order to get that lunge going, okay? So take your time and split it up into 2 exercises if you need to. Step, then lunge, and then step back up. So that's where you go next, the reverse lunge. I'll leave that there. And then after that, we're going for what they're most used to is the forward lunge. So with the forward lunge, the reason I've left it to last, for obvious reasons I've been talking about, is that momentum you get going forwards when you step. So feet together, stepping forwards and in. Again, really not too dissimilar to the split squat, you just got that forward step. Now the issue being, all that momentum forward, very easy to drive too hard into that knee. So again, the exact same in the reverse lunge, making sure stepping forward first, then you're going down, and then you're stepping back when you come back up. So step, down, and back. Don't overthink it. You'll realise you're doing it if that knee's driving too far forward. But again, it's just take a bit of time, take a bit of control with these exercises. Step in, down you go, and back. Now if you split it up like that, the coming back, if you're doing it weighted, can be a bit hard if you come up here first and lean back. So the coming back up is a bit different, where you want to step into it and then drive back, step and drive back. But generally most people find that more comfortable in terms of the balance side of things. So again, bring yourself to the stick if the balance is an issue for you, because again, it's just most likely that you're throwing yourself off balance by stepping forward way off, and sometimes you can't see it without having a visual aid. So you're either side of the stick, you're lunging forwards, making sure that knee's not going over that toe by driving too much weight into it. You're keeping upright, nice core strong. If you fall off balance a little bit, don't worry about it, but focus on keeping that tripod foot on the front of the foot, and then you'll be absolutely fine. And then from here, once you've kind of nailed that exercise, all you can then do is add weights to it, holding dumbbells to the side, dumbbells anywhere, barbell. This way you can start to build up your lunge. But making sure you've nailed all these little points first is going to be really key, like so. And then the final one I'm going to quickly talk to you about is a Bulgarian split squat. So if you haven't seen this one or done this one before, this way you've got a foot on a box, like so. The same rules apply. What we're not looking to do is have a big drive forward. We're still looking to sink downwards like so. The main mistake people make with this is they put too much weight actually backwards and hit a nice stretch, really good hip flexor stretch when you lean backwards into this position here. Feels really good if you want to try that, especially if you rest the knee down. Fantastic hip flexor stretch, keeping the hips tucked. But if you're focused on a split squat exercise, we don't want that at all. We want to put like 90% of your body weight on this front leg, avoiding the knee going forward. If I'm here, shift my body weight forward, so I'm pushing with those toes. Now all my weight's here. I'm not continually pushing, so I'll fall forward, but all my weight's forward on those toes, and I'm sinking straight down. And then it's just an elevated foot split squat. So nothing new, nothing complicated, just nailing those key points I went through at the start. For all 4 of these exercises will get you there, no problem. So that's a lot of information. So I hope you got something from that. Hopefully you can improve your lunge from it. Like I said, if you have any issues whatsoever, just drop me a message. But yeah, otherwise, have a great weekend, and I'll post the new schedule for next week on Sunday, and I'll see you then.